How's it going, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. There's not going to be any card showing in this video other than the one you already see. And the majority of you either knew it was coming in or have already seen it posted on Facebook. But I wanted to tell the story behind why I wanted this card so bad. And why I went ahead and stopped building my 2013 Tier 1 autograph set to help fund this. Because I didn't want to dip into my bank account. I wanted to be able to sell off what I had in my collection in order to buy something else that I wanted more, which is what I do a lot of the time. And that's why I couldn't sell any Packers stuff, because I've already sold off all the Packers stuff I really wanted to get rid of, or that I could get rid of, in order to help. I used some of that money to purchase some of the Tier 1 stuff, and most of it went to purchasing rare Clay Matthews stuff. So I just recycle my funds that way, because I can't afford to keep it all, even though I would love to. But I'll go ahead and get into that little ditty right there. When I was a kid growing up, much like a lot of people that are going to be watching this video, I was in middle school in 1995 when Cal Ripken Jr. was chasing Lou Gehrig's consecutive games record, which was 2,130 consecutive games, and Ripken was trying to get to 2131. So the lead up to that on SportsCenter and Baseball Tonight, which were shows that I religiously watched as a kid, I loved them so much, especially during the summertime, because they just kept replaying them at night. So I watched Baseball Tonight all the time during summer vacation. But watching that and hearing the stories about Lou Gehrig that they were covering, it made me want to research him. And I know in school I did some, I don't know, I guess you wouldn't really call it book reports. It was more research papers, just like, I'm sure it was for English class, just writing papers on something that interested you type thing. But I became really, really interested in Lou Gehrig and his story. And fast forward to being an adult, a few years ago, my grandfather passed away on my mother's side. And he was an amazing man, and just a really great man, and super athletically fit. He worked out all the time up until he was in his 60s. He ran every morning between 5 and 7 miles. Him and his wife both did. I believe she did more power walking and he ran. Like I said, and this was into his late 50s and early 60s, and then he had to have knee surgery, so he wasn't allowed to run anymore, but he got really into the speed walking thing. And they would do that every morning. They would get up, go do their walk, and then go to breakfast and get on with their day. But then, out of the blue, he got diagnosed with diabetes. They were on vacation and they were flying back because they traveled all the time. That's what they loved to do. But while they were on vacation, he had a dramatic weight loss. He lost like 15, 20 pounds in like 10 days. It was crazy. And he wasn't sick. They didn't know what was going on. And they went to the doctors, made appointments and everything, determined he had diabetes. So he had to give himself insulin shots, and he was super scared of it. And because, he was always super healthy, and he couldn't, it just shocked him that had happened. And he was one of those people who was super, super diligent on keeping food logs and testing his blood sugar levels at the same times all the time, before meals, everything. I mean, he was just super, super diligent in it. And he kept all his logbooks. He never got rid of them. He would keep them. And eventually, my grandmother, she isn't my mother's mother, but it was his third wife. Yeah, his third wife. She noticed his motor skills weren't what they used to be. There was something different. And he was a proud man, and he wouldn't say anything about it. He wouldn't complain. He wasn't like that. But she noticed he was having issues with silverware and ink pens and stuff like that. Things that you had to have some dexterity to use. And she just slowly noticed that was kind of going away. And I believe he may have even had speech problems. He had hard times getting words out. So they went back to doctors eventually. And he was diagnosed with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. And that's super unfortunate, super rare. They have no cure for it. There's nothing they could do for him. So he was, given a death sentence of basically all your body just shutting down and all your motor skills and everything going away, your ability to speak, everything goes except for your mind. Your mind stays sharp and you just become a prisoner in your own body. And for somebody who was always on the go, riding his Harley, on vacation, doing his walks, he was always an active guy. That was like the worst thing that could happen for him. And fortunately and unfortunately, he didn't live very long after the diagnosis, which sucked. But my grandma, they took him to the hospital, and this was early in the week, like Monday, Tuesday time frame. Took him to the hospital because he wasn't doing well. Something wasn't right. And then, so my mother was a little worried about what was going on, so she was wondering if she should come up there and see him. And this is in Dubuque, Iowa, which is about a 7.5 hour trip from here in Missouri. And my grandma told her, no, he's stable right now. Don't come yet. So my mom decided that come Friday when she got off work, we were going to go up there and visit him. And because it just didn't sound good. Well, he didn't make it to the end of the week. I remember that phone call. I was at work. It was early in the morning. I had to be at work at 6 o'clock in the morning. And my mother didn't have to be at work till 8. And she hadn't gotten to work yet when she got the phone call. So it was somewhere between 6 and 8 a.m. And she called me, obviously crying, devastated, because she was super close with her dad. And so I immediately knew what had happened. So anyway, long story short, went up there and had to go up there for the funeral, which that's the first person that was really close in the family that passed away from me that I experienced. And it was just a new thing that I had never dealt with and hadn't thought about dealing with, especially him, because he was always, he just seemed like he was going to live forever. And obviously nobody's going to live forever, but he went sooner than we all thought he would. But that's the real connection to this piece of cardboard. When I started, when I started collecting cards as a kid, I collected baseball cards, and baseball was life. I played baseball all the way up until I was 20 years old, and absolutely love the sport, still do. And this card right here is always super iconic. When I think of Lou Gehrig baseball cards, this is the card I think of. I know the 34 Gaudi is also a really popular one, but the 1933 Gaudi is the card I always wanted, and especially after my grandpa passed away and there's that connection there for me, I just always wanted this card at some point in my life. And back then, when I first got back into cards in 2010, I wasn't spending a ton of money, or I wouldn't say not a ton of money, but I wasn't spending a lot of money on high dollar cards. I was buying a lot of low to mid level stuff and just buying a ton of it. And I really wish I would have saved my money back then and bought one of these, because I always wanted a PSA 1 version of this card, because for me, obviously I was going to be the most affordable. But when I think of stuff that's this old and I think of vintage, I want it to look old and I want it to look weathered and beat up, and I want it to look the 84 years old that it is. So that's always what I kind of envisioned, was getting the lowest graded one and the best eye appeal possible, because I didn't want like corners completely cut off or paper loss out of the middle or really bad color or stains or anything like that. So that was always what I wanted in a copy of this card. And they used to run a PSA 1, used to be in like the $300 to $500 range. And this was just in the last few years. And I just never pulled the trigger on one because I was too busy buying the stuff that I've collected the last several years. And before I went to Nationals, I decided that I wanted to shop for one while I was there. And I didn't see one. I've never actually seen one in person. I've only ever seen them in pictures on the internet. I'd never actually seen one or held one or anything like that. But when I was there in Chicago, I didn't find one. And I was like, it's a bit of a bummer. I know I would have paid a premium there, or would have paid full price, because that's just the way everything is there. But I didn't find one, and I got back and I didn't really think about it much anymore. I didn't find any of the Clay Matthews stuff I was hoping to find there. It just did not happen for me card-wise. But last week on Thursday, it was Wednesday or Thursday, I get the email from eBay with the 10 times eBay bucks promotion. I'm like, okay, let's go shopping. Let's try to find something. And I went and I found this card listed, and the price wasn't astronomical to start with. It was $1,100, it was $1,100 or best offer. I'm like, okay, I might be able to get this down to the price I would like to pay for it, because it's about $1,000. His price wasn't bad. It's $1,000 to $1,100 card, and because it's graded 1.5. Well, the difference between a 1.5 and a 2, I think the last 2 sold for around $1,900 on bids. So vintage is just nuts, and it's just exploded the last couple of years. It just keeps going up and up and up, and I was like, I need to get one while I still have the ability to afford one in any grade. And I decided that I would break up the Tier 1 autograph set to raise the money to buy this. And I offered the seller $800, knowing that I was going way low, just to see what they would counter me with. Well, they countered it at $1,050. They came down $50. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go up to $900, which is still more than fair. I mean, that's a good deal for me. And I sent the offer of $900, and then during this process, I was talking with Michael Shane on Facebook. Same time, in real time. I was chatting with him on there and making my offers, and I was just wanting to pick his brain, because I know he's familiar with the vintage market and things like that, and I knew he would be the guy to go to. And we were talking, and I told him how much it was, and I showed it to him, and he said to pay. We basically said that it's $1,000 card, so if you have to pay $1,000, you have to pay $1,000. So anything below that is gravy. So I sent my $900 offer, and then I sent the seller a message, and I get a reply from him, and he appreciates the fact that I took the time to write a message and open a line of communication, because he said that doesn't happen very often. He goes, I've gotten so many offers on this card, and he goes, I haven't got a single message or a note with any of them. I just get offers, and he goes, and I haven't accepted any of them. And he goes, while your $900 offer is a good offer, he goes, I know that if I hold out, he goes, I can get close to asking price. He goes, so what I'm going to do right now is, he goes, I'm going to counter your $900 offer with $930, and I'm going to send it to you. He goes, if you counter that $930, he goes, if you don't accept it right away, or if you don't accept it and you send me another counter offer, he goes, I'm going to let it sit and I'm going to wait. He goes, I would like it to go somewhere that's going to appreciate it. So he goes, that's why I'm going to offer it to you at $930. And that's where it was left. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to argue over $30. And I accepted his offer of $930 and paid for it. Because at that time I had already raised over $500 towards it. So went ahead and paid for it, and was so super excited, and we messaged back and forth a couple more times that night after I had paid for it, and I was just super duper thrilled. And this was on Thursday night. Friday morning I get the shipping information, and then it tells me it's going to be delivered on Monday. Well, I knew I had to go out of town either Monday or Tuesday. I had to go up to Iowa because my brother-in-law, who I consider my brother, his father passed away. And I knew I had to go up there for the funeral. I had only met the man a handful of times, but I was going up to support Eric and my sister more than anything. I wanted to be there for them. So I was like, okay, it's going to be here on Monday. I was hoping the funeral was going to be on Tuesday, and the funeral ended up being scheduled for Monday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be gone. I know he sent it signature confirmation, so I'm not going to be there to sign for it, so I can pick it up when I come back on Tuesday. Well, luckily for me, the USPS does what they do best and is a day late. So got up to Iowa Monday afternoon, left at 1 o'clock, Monday afternoon, slow down, Sunday afternoon, leave at 1 o'clock, get up to Iowa at 5. So there Monday night, get up Tuesday, go to the funeral at 3 o'clock, then get back on the road at 4 o'clock after the graveside service was done. Ended up leaving town at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, getting back 8 o'clock last night, and then set my alarm for 7:30 this morning. That way, if my mailman came and knocked on the door, I would already hopefully be awake, and just in case I didn't hear it, I wanted an alarm. So my alarm went off this morning at 7:30, and by 8:30, I had this package in my hand, and it was a little scary because he sent it insured with a signature confirmation, but he just sent it in a regular bubble mailer. And I thought that was kind of bold for, a purchase that was almost $1,000. I was like, oh my gosh, it was just a regular bubble mailer. So I was like, man, that case could be cracked, all that good stuff. So I recorded a video. I was going to open this on camera, but I knew I didn't have time to shoot a video this morning. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to shoot a quick one of me opening it just so in case it's broken or if the card wasn't actually in there. Even though super nice guy, seemed trustworthy, I trust nobody, especially when it comes to me purchasing and stuff like this. So I opened it up, and there it is in all its glory. It's so pretty. And of course, it's super dark in here right now, unfortunately. But there it is. PSA 1.5, fair condition, 1933, Lou Gehrig. Super iconic card, just beautiful. There's the back. I cannot believe I finally have one of these, and I'm so happy to have it. And it's a case of the first time in the hobby for me where I've purchased something, and with the 10% eBay bucks on a $930 purchase, I got $93 back in eBay bucks, so $837 into this. It's the first time I can remember in the hobby where I've purchased something that's never going to be worth less than what I paid for it. I'm already into the good on this, and the way the vintage market's going, that's not going to slow down. It's going to keep. Nothing could happen for with Lou Gehrig that would make the value of this go down. I mean, he's already passed away, and he's revered as one of the greatest ball players of all time. And my favorite old-time ball player. And yeah. So that's my story when it comes to this. My first ever vintage purchase. Thank you for the assist, Michael Shane, and walking me through that whole deal. I really appreciate it. And yeah. That is all I have, folks. I don't have anything coming in. I haven't bought anything other than this. I'm gonna sit on this for a little while, because after I purchased it, I was talking to Grant, and I told Grant, I said, man, no matter what I buy from here on out, it's not going to be as cool as this. I mean, this is an 84-year-old baseball card of an absolute legend. How am I going to beat that? It's just not going to happen for me. So, it's just really neat. I'm really happy, and I'm rambling. Thank you for all the kind words on Facebook about this, and I hope you enjoy the video. So I hope you all have a good night. I did manage to get caught up on Ray Donovan and Game of Thrones, which I missed both of those Sunday night while I was gone. Caught up on those, and I'm waiting to watch Manhunt Unabomber Episode 4 is on tonight. So I will be catching up with that on Investigation Discovery. So that's what I'm going to do the rest of the night. You all enjoy, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.